Today's October 6th. We're going to check into second base tonight. Postseason this year has been great so far. We do have stuff to talk about tonight. I promise. Let's hang out. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Let's go. Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
Bro, literally just walked through the door 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all right. We're here.
You had a good time Friday night, right? Or was it Saturday night?
It's Friday night.
Friday
I did.
Night, yeah.
Yeah. Friday night, we took our daughter and us, kind of, to see 21 Pilots in Columbus, which, if you're not aware, that's a hometown show for those guys. They're playing again tonight. They played again last night. Matter of fact,
I was gonna say they had 3, right?
Katie and Keely went back down last night.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we went down, us and we took her and her friend. So the 4 of us went down. And Katie knows, I mean, it's like I said, they're from Columbus. So Katie has worked with someone who grew up with Tyler's wife, and they're still close friends. And so she was there and all this stuff. So she ended up saying she ended up messaging back saying, hey, I got 2 floor passes if you want them to come back down. So yeah, they went back down on Saturday.
Nice.
And stood on the floor and stood
Partied
next
again.
to his mother-in-law.
Nice.
Just hung out.
Yeah.
Keel was pumped. She was
I
pumped.
bet.
Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. Just fired off there. So yeah, postseason baseball's on. It's been a lot of fun. I had somebody in. There we go. We got a test. We're good. Just making sure.
Yeah.
That's your YouTube account that you want to be out there, right?
Right. No, it's not. I think it's. I don't understand YouTube sometimes. I've tried to change that name. I thought I changed it.
It's all right. You need to change it to Uncle Jake.
Right?
Just change it to Uncle Jake. That's it. That's fine.
Listen, if I could, I would.
Yeah, well.
Like I said, I thought I changed it.
Yeah. So, yeah, they've been good. It was somebody in church this morning went up to Katie and was like, hey, do I talk postseason baseball with him, or once the Pirates are out, do I not? She was like, no. We love.
Yeah.
You're fine. He was like, okay. I didn't know if it was like a sore subject. And I was like, bro, if it was a sore subject that the Pirates weren't in the postseason.
I'd have a tough postseason most years.
Yeah, no kidding. So
I had a good weekend too. Spent the weekend in Nashville.
Are we good here?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I hate when I'm on this screen because it feels like it's way behind. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe it is. We're not. Maybe we're that far. It's just now doing the intro on the page. Like on my page. You know what I mean? Not like the live thing, but like, I don't know why. I got to get off this page, so I'm not looking at it. You know what I mean? That's it. Just get off the page.
Yeah.
It solves that.
Sheesh.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I spent the weekend in Nashville. One of my best friends down here was getting married, and I officiated the wedding. Good time. There was only about 25 people-ish there. Real small wedding. Just real good. It was a good time. So my Ashley videoed it, right? She's like, I wasn't worried about videoing the whole thing because, your weddings are 7 minutes. I'm like, that's what people want, man. When they're
Yeah,
getting somebody who's
that's it.
not an actual pastor, you know what I mean? It's like, we're just trying to do this low key. We're just trying to short and sweet. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm your guy
Yeah.
because it's gonna be quick.
I would be like, I'm still not your guy. I'm never your guy. I'm not going to do that. I don't know, man. Man, we got, we're going to check into second base. So we're going to talk about second base or whatever. I actually thought about kind of scratching some of this other stuff that I had and then saying like, well, maybe we'll just double down and do another position too. But I think there's enough that it's probably worth having this conversation. So we're going to go through that way. But also just I wanted a little free time tonight. We're in this period before the offseason. I know, Pirates fans were already in the offseason. Technically, the offseason starts, 3 days after the day after the World Series, and then free agency starts 3 days after, or something like that. Whatever. But for us, it's already the offseason, right? So I understand I'm saying before the offseason, but you understand what I mean. Like before like the full offseason. But anyway, we're just in this like, okay, just waiting for these games to be over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't be on the phone with anybody that's a pending free agent. Well, technically they're not even free agents yet. So you can't be on the phone with them. You know what I mean? They're not free agents till 3 days after the World Series ends. And so all of that stuff. Sometimes this period is like a little bit frustrating for fans. And so we tend to, there's no news. You know what I mean? We had our press conference last week. We didn't fire enough people. So maybe we'll get like they hired a new coach. Kind of like the Francona stuff happened last Sunday or last Thursday. So, worthy conversation.
Yeah, it's just that weird time. Just watching all the other teams play right now, getting excited about guys that I haven't worried about getting excited for.
Checking in on how many former Pirates are in the postseason.
Sure.
And then also future Pirates. It's kind of hard. Like, I don't like Pete Alonso, but right now I'm kind of like, I'm just kidding. Obviously, not
happening.
Not in the realm of what we know.
I don't even want that to happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have either. And then it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not really saying. I'm just saying he's hitting some daggum home runs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're like thinking about it. I'm like, it's not that.
No, it's one of them things like I don't want it to happen, but if it happens, I'm obviously going to root for the guy. Like, you know what I mean? But
yeah, but it doesn't matter because that's money.
It's just it's just not going to happen.
So anyway, yeah, a little bit about it. Let me see. 3-1, 4-1 San Diego. Tatis just crossed home plate again. Jackson Merrill, Rookie of the Year, runner-up this year.
Runner-up.
Yeah, you know it. Runner-up. Man, he is really good, though.
He is.
And he's still going, man. He's still going. 21 years old. Postseason doesn't matter. Still, like, he's still
the votes
really
are already in.
Well, the votes are. Well, I'm not even. Yeah, that. Just because he's not winning Rookie of the Year doesn't mean he's a great player, right? He's just not historic.
Right.
Yeah, he's been a great player this season.
Any other year, he wins it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's been some other seasons like Pete Alonso hit 53 home runs his rookie season. You know what I mean? So he doesn't win it that year. I'm just saying there's other seasons that have been great too. But yeah, a lot of years he's going to win it. So yeah, Dodgers have a 1-0 lead. Looks like they're going to even things up. Phillies even things up today. I'm trying to remember all these. Guardians 2-game lead. Did they play the second game yet?
Did the American League have today off?
They did, but why?
Just so they could start staggering. So when the National League has their off day, American League is playing. American League has their off day. The National League will be playing.
Yeah, so Cleveland's up 1-0 and the Yankees are up 1-0. Yeah, that is weird that they're doing that. Why they would start them all on the same day or no. Yeah.
Yeah, they started them all yesterday.
Yeah, feels weird. Anyway.
Which was weird.
Yeah, and tomorrow is just American League. And then just National League. And then all 4. And then they go Thursday and Friday are just again. And Saturday, because Saturday would be game 5 for the American League. Yeah. Kind of weird the way that it feels like they're stretching it out a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess what they're trying to do is make sure that there's no, like, on one travel day, there's still going to be games.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, Sherrod's in the chat. He said, too many days off this early. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess it's probably what it is, though. They're trying to make sure that it's staggered so that when it looks like when the American League is traveling, then they'll both be there or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is, there'll be a game on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They just should have staggered the start of it.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm at too.
Yeah. You should have just started with National League or the American League, and then the next day starts the.
Do you think that it's because of the wild card round that they don't?
Probably.
Because because they started these Wednesday in the wait, is that right? Either way,
Yeah.
the wild card round ended the night before these ones. Like there was no travel day, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe they were saying
Wednesday,
it has to
Thursday,
be a
Friday.
disadvantage or something.
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was the wild card. Saturday started the divisional rounds.
Yeah. Anyway. Too much confusion on that for me. I should have had that. What a bum.
What a bum.
A couple days after the
bum.
couple days after the Francona news. Any different feelings here? You still upset?
No, still upset.
Is it? And it's not really, just for clarification, like it's not really even that I was, we have to get Francona here.
No.
It's not the guy. I mean, he's a great manager, and that stinks as, for your team to get a great manager or your rival to get a great manager like that. But it's just the idea that we're still rolling with the same thing.
Yeah.
So
We're not trying to improve.
Right. Yeah.
On that front. I mean, obviously we're trying to improve. They're going to try to improve, but they're not trying to improve that spot.
Yeah, obviously. It's clear that we've, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that what Sherrington said? There's clear evidence. And we're all kind of like, yeah. We pointed out here, like that in certain areas where there is improvement, but I don't think it's enough to say that it's clear.
Right.
Clear to you, maybe. Because you've been watching everything, or have you? I don't know. Maybe you haven't been watching everything closely, Ben. Like the standings.
Right. Wins and losses.
You haven't been paying attention to those much. I'm sure he has. Listen, what do you want? You want to go into second base, or you want to go a little more of this, a little more Ben Sherrington?
I don't care.
Don't care.
Ben Sherrington, I feel like it's getting a little run in. So I feel like we should move on to second base.
Oh. You feel like wait, what? No, I have something. I have something else.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I have something to add to it. So our friend Gary Morgan, if you guys aren't checking out steelcitypirates.com, go check that out. A lot of good articles being written by a lot of guys that you probably already know about. But Gary from the fan forums are always on there. Michael from 412 Double Play. Ethan from Locked On. I've done a few on there, and there's other guys too that aren't podcasters, but that are doing write-ups, and it's just a lot of good stuff there, man. And it's worth checking out. But Gary wrote something that generally is is about Bob and Ben. The headline is Bob and Ben don't ever seem to get why Pirates fans might be over it. And it's a lot about the connection of why they don't really understand like what we're feeling even. Like how are they so disconnected in a way? It's a good read. Go ahead and read it. There's one thing that he mentions in this article that I thought was important to bring up when we're talking about all this stuff, specifically when we're talking about this preparation for the offseason, which is what we've been talking about now for weeks. So Ron, what's up? Ron's in the chat. Good evening. Happy humans, he says. We're happy. I like that. Anyway, here's the quote that he has from this article. And like I said, this is just one section of it. Go read this piece because it's really good. But this is the specific point that I thought we could dive into a little bit. And this is a straight quote. Just about every team in the league has their 2025 budget established. And if they're out of the playoffs, they're probably already looking at free agents. Bob and I have this double sourced. Now, not me. This is a quote from the article. I have this double sourced. Bob has yet to provide his budget for next year to his team. So we've heard this before. Not this in particular, but what I'm about to say. We've heard this before that the Pirates, and specifically Nutting, bases their budget the following, like in a season, based off of the earnings and the revenue and the profit and blah, 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 based on, I guess, the overall financials of the prior year. Okay? So you've got money, all the money from last year. You take a look at that, and then you say, all right, because of this year, we've got this much to spend. So you're Ben Sherrington, and we're not, he even says in here, not trying to defend him. And we're not defending him, obviously. We've actually been on here saying we wouldn't mind a change. But you're Ben Sherrington, and you're sitting there right now. What is going through your mind? Are you still able to look? Do you still have your people? Are you guys in meetings, still looking at free agents, still looking around the league to check out trades, but all the while saying, we'll see if we can go there because we don't know what our budget is yet.
Yeah, that is interesting. That'd be tough to do. Let's create this wish list, and then just as soon as we get our budget, just start crossing the wish list down. We don't have the budget for that. We don't have the budget for them.
Right.
So that'd be tough. It would be tough to start looking and getting my hopes up.
Right. And it also kind of gives you this idea, Jake, that when it comes to the Pirates understanding money, right? And a lot of Pirates fans and a lot of sports fans, let's not even put us into Pittsburgh or baseball. A lot of sports fans would like to, I guess probably would stick to baseball because salary cap everywhere else. But you could invest into the product on the field in order to make more money, right? That seems to make a lot of sense. If I go buy a team that will win, I'll make money. The problem is there's a risk involved there. What if we go buy, look at what the Mets did after they spent all the money. Look at what the Padres did after they spent all the money. It wasn't until some of that money had to go away before these two teams made it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And actually look like they have a shot. You know what I mean? They had to get rid of Soto. The Mets had to get rid of the pitching that they had in Verlander and Scherzer, and they had to move things out of the way from all that money that they spent. And so there's a little bit of risk there. Now, granted, those teams probably made money those seasons because they had the players to bring people to the games. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But it's not an investment in order to make more money. It's this is how much money we made, so this is how much we can spend. And it feels kind of backwards and completely risk-free.
Yeah. Yeah. and that and that's why we'll never get a winning team if we were to stop going to games, right? Because it would just get worse.
Yeah.
They
Right.
would
Yeah.
have no,
100%.
you know what I mean? There would be no money to go into the team.
Right. And
So
and
then
we've all talked about that, right? Boycott
Yeah.
it. Boycott it. And you're boycotting it to try to make them sell, but you're not saying we're not going to games until you get talent, because if you know this, you're going to be like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And now you're almost like, in spite of it, let's all pack the place and then let them put their money where their mouth is the following year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, if we go all in one season,
Yeah.
and let them make a ton, there was some things where you would look at this and you would think about this way of thinking. And if you're Ben Sherrington and you know that this is true, he's been there long enough to know this is true, and you know this is true, and you're going into 2024 and you're like, I could probably get us, I mean, all things considered, if the guys coming into 2024 would have played well, right? So let's say like Jack Sawinski would have played well. Let's say, David Bednar would have pitched well. All of that,
Tellez.
you know what I'm saying? Tellez would have, well, no. Even before that.
Oh, okay.
Even before that. Let's just say the guys that are there, the guys that were already there, right? And you would have got good season. Key Brian Hayes, that was the other one I was trying to think of. So Sawinski and Hayes, to me, were big ones. And then on the pitching side, you're looking at Bednar and some of that other bullpen. So, like, if those guys hold their end up, right, and then go backwards, because you're saying, that's what I'm saying, like, before that, you're saying, we're projecting those guys to do something.
Right.
And then on top of that, you could say, well, I could pay Rowdy $3.2 million, which is what they did, or I could afford to go 6-7 on Carlos Santana to bring him back. And then instead of bringing in, I guess that's it. Chapman was actually more money. Oh, Taylor. Instead of bringing in Taylor at 4, maybe you would have done something else where you could have brought somebody in for another 10, right? Because you had the money probably, we believe. I mean, we don't know this stuff, but we're just saying we were critical of those because they were cheap deals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Maybe the Marco stuff doesn't happen. Maybe instead of $8 million for Martin Perez, you actually went 16, 17 million for one of these guys you missed out on.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say things like that, right? You could have probably taken that. It would have been a risk, but you probably could have gotten this team to 85, 86 wins with a team like that. It, like I said, expecting guys to play well. Right.
Yeah.
So the only reason you could think not to do that is because you could think, if you're Sherrington, well, if I save 5 here, if I save 8 there, and all this stuff, I'll make more money this year to have for next year when it really, really matters. You know what I mean? Like when they say, oh, you can't save money now and spend it later, but in this circumstance, I feel like you probably could go down that road.
Yeah.
You probably could feel like if I save this money, I can spend it next year because it will actually be there. I don't know. And if you would have won, but at the same time, if you would have won more games, you would have got a lot more people there.
True. I mean, and it comes down to players coming through. I mean, that's really a lot of what it is. Because if this team is completely different, it's a completely different outcome if Jack doesn't take this step back, if Bednar is not hurt at the beginning of the year and struggles and all that.
How much though do you think? You know what I mean?
I mean, there's if Jack comes out and is Jack as he was the previous year.
Well, it'd have to be a little bit better, right? If he was only what he was the previous year when he had like a time that we had to send him down and all that stuff, I mean, you're probably saying he might add a couple wins.
Right. But if he has a solid year, say he hits 28 to 30 homers because he hit 26, so take a little step forward.
Right.
You know,
shorten your slumps up a little bit.
You're looking at 80 wins right there. From 76 to 8. I'm sure that's at least 4. You know?
Maybe if you combine the maybe Key Bryan's up, playing all the time and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You don't have all the errors from Cruz, or the move to center field happened earlier.
Right.
Something like that. If
Or
BDLC comes across.
Taylor hit well like
Right,
he did
yeah.
in Minnesota.
Right.
Yeah. There's so many things that could have went right.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. And that is why I'm a little frustrated that we only let go of a hitting coach, bullpen coach, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I felt like we just needed to rehaul the faces that are in front of the team.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was the way that the play happened in the last little bit, the way that the on the field product looked. I still believe everybody's trying their hardest, but there were times that it, even though I felt like, I trust that they're always trying their hardest, but even at that point, you can still look a bit defeated, and they did. They looked a bit defeated. They looked a little like, I'm trying hard, but I'm still not I'm not having a whole lot of fun. And that's what made me feel like there's a culture right now. And sure, it's the end of the season. You're already out of it. That could just be gone by some rest, relaxation, come back in the spring and get get jacked up for the season or whatever. And so that's easy to say, we could do that. But for me, it felt like it needs to look different when they go in that clubhouse in the spring. It needs to look different. They need to feel like they're kind of not on the edge of their seat, but like on your toes. Like I gotta get to know this guy. You gotta develop something new instead of coming in comfortable. You know what I mean? And maybe they won't be. Maybe everything will be good and they'll get they will not be comfortable from the get-go, right? So it's possible, but I think you change things, you force your hand on that.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's just. I think that's what most people are frustrated about right now, is that we're not changing that over, and we need to start seeing the results on the field. We need to start seeing guys take step forwards. It's one thing to take a step forward to get to the big leagues, but take a step forward to stay at the big leagues.
Yeah.
Do better at the big leagues. Like that's what this game is all about. It's not just about making it. It's about improving while you're there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. And that's something that I don't know. Maybe it gets better. I think a lot of that is on the hitting side. A lot of it is on the hitting side. And so if we could, we're getting the new hitting coach in here. If we can get the new hitting coach in here and we can do something differently with that, maybe it does make this product.
I just hope we get him in soon. I hope this isn't a long drawn out process. Like, go find your guy.
I guess I hadn't thought about that. I guess I don't really care much unless he's a guy that will help you bring guys in.
Yeah.
I mean, that was literally Rowdy was like, oh, I already knew Andy Haynes. And I'm like, yeah, but you liked him. You know what I mean? Which, we know our things about it. But anyway, this whole thing about, setting your budget. And like I said, we've talked about this before, and here we are again. We're bringing it up again, and you just,
I guess you can't go get your hitting coach until you know your budget.
Well, that's a different budget, right? I think that's a different budget.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
I would just assume your budget is going to engulf everything.
I don't think it go. Well, yeah. I guess I see that. Yeah, it probably plays.
When I think of your team's budget,
not your payroll, right? But your team's budget. But your budget. I mean, the GM controls all that stuff. So yeah, you're right. So yeah, I think it's there. Couple comments here. Ron says, when do the Pirates ever work out at the same time? What is this? It's the Pirates.
When do things ever work out at the same time?
Thank you. I'm having trouble reading tonight. It's a great. That's a great one. Ron says
I was like, Ron actually typed one right that time, and you struggled.
I did. I'm also I'm trying to decide where I want to read it. I should read it when I put it up because that's easier to read than the colors I have here. Anyway, this is Ron again. I'm still very optimistic about 25 with a new hitting coach and hopefully a new hitting approach. And once again, I'll say the hitting approach in general may not change much, but with runners in scoring position, in situational hitting, that's what I'm hoping about the approach changes. But we still might see patient hitters, and we just might. I don't really know. Well, we might. The Launchpad says Francona of the Reds was a gut punch. I love how this front office preaches get better, but what if the easiest way is to get improvement is an experienced field manager who's a proven winner? Yeah. And obviously sarcasm in there. But yeah, I still think the Francona to Cincinnati was and it's the thing about like they fired him in the season. You had to know they were going to be aggressive. I mean, as far as it being Francona, I still wouldn't have expected that. You know what I mean? I just would. Right. I just thought he was done.
Yeah.
But and Ron also says he's okay with Shelton and Cherington getting one more year. See the Pirates being the Orioles next year.
Like, I'm okay with it. I just hope it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is like I said, we've seen this play out. We've seen it play out with Baltimore, actually. It's not year 5, it's year 6. Year 5, you were supposed to be somewhere around 500. I think Baltimore was either 500 or 82 and 80. You know what I mean? In year 5. And then they went and won 100 games. Now, I'm not calling for the Pirates to win 100 games next year. We'll see what they do. The Orioles didn't really do much and went and won 100 games because they just had the offensive pieces to just tear.
Got better.
Yeah, they all got better.
Back, they took a step forward.
Right. They were pretty fortunate in a lot of things. They had a bounce back season from a pitcher, and they were, you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of things that went well, and it went well for most of this season too. And then they had their little collapse at the end. Every season's going to be different that way, but they're set up nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good call there. Launchpad says, I'd kill for a Dusty Baker, Buck Showalter type. I don't trust Shelton to make the moves required. So, I mean, that's another thing too. And I mean, this is it right here, right? Sadly, appears he'd rather have a yes man than a legit manager. And we feel like that's the truth with Shelton. We've talked about that a lot. It feels like it is a guy who is on board. And so really, it's just a guy who sees eye to eye with what the organization's trying to do. I think it's probably a benefit of the doubt here, right? I think it's probably more that they just agree than it is like, I'll do whatever you tell me and I don't have any opinions of my own. Like Derek Shelton is a smart guy. You know what I'm saying? But he's just on the same page, I think. And that's why it feels a lot like that, right? So what you would really want is maybe somebody a little less like-minded so that you have two different voices in that room instead of, I was thinking the same thing, man. I think we should do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. It really is. Like, you would think you want that like-minded guy, but to have two different, you can make that work. You can make it mesh really well. And you can bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
To figure things out.
Yeah. I had something there I was going to say. This is like I'm feeling great tonight. Can't read. I've already forgot 2 things I wanted to say. It's been awesome. What do we got going on here? We got 2 guys in the game. Oh, they're doing a pitching meeting. I think in the postseason, they're not talking about random things in pitching meetings.
No.
Like that's a real visit. They got things to talk about. It's not like, where are you going out to eat tonight? Let's calm this guy down. No.
It was, when I was on the way, Ashley pulled it up on the phone. I was listening, she was watching, and it's actually something that, help me out here. It's just, wow.
Yeah. I'm rubbing off on
pitching. You are Smoltzy. Golly. he was talking about that it should be the longest game of your life because you are literally thinking every single pitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are legit mound visits.
Right. Ron asks, do you think Nutty would tolerate someone not agreeing with him? I think when it comes to like baseball stuff, I think he generally stays out of the way.
Yeah, I think it's more Sherrington.
Yeah, I think for nutting, it's don't embarrass me, because that's what he doesn't like.
Yeah,
that's when he's going to step in.
Yeah,
and I thought that that's what we were getting. I thought that whole Rowdy thing was just enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it felt that way. Like, oh yeah, boy,
it didn't feel good.
That might be the one. But yeah, all in all, I don't mind another year because I think it is kind of like a prove it thing.
Yeah, I think it's after the decision was made. The decision's made, and I'm going to live with it. I'm going to be okay with it. But I would have liked to have seen a change.
So, because let's talk about David Bell a little bit.
Do we have to?
Well, no, not really about David Bell, but Bell came in 2019, a year before Shelton came into Pittsburgh. But you got to understand that like Bell came in after a 4th place, a 5th place. These are all Brian Price, right? You got rid of Baker and you had Brian Price for 5 years where you went 4th place, 5th place, 5th place, 5th place, 5th place. Okay. And then they fired Price and Jim Riggleman took over. Price only made it to 3-15 in that 5th year. And then Jim Riggleman took over, went 64-80 for another 5th place. They brought in David Bell at that point. That is 5 years. David Bell was brought in to turn the corner. They started getting like, when David Bell came in was the year they went out and they got Sonny Gray, right? So their best player that year was Sonny Gray. The following year was Trevor Bauer. You know what I'm saying? Like they were supposed to say like, okay, David Bell, and they were in the wild card. Of course, that was 2020. So like half the team was in a wild card round, but he was supposed to make it happen, right? They win 83 games the following year. And then instead of taking a step forward, they dropped to 100 losses. They trade off Luis Castillo. They restock everything. And they look like they've got a team, you know, at least a little bit with a ton of young guys. And they go 82-80 last year. And it's like, all right, now we've got them all here now. Let's do it. And again, under 500, he goes 76-81, canned before the last 5 games. Bell was supposed to be the guy to make it happen.
Yeah.
Price was that bridge guy, or bridge guy, quote unquote. I need to put that in there because I don't think they see Shelton as a bridge guy, but they got rid of Dusty Baker saying, okay, we're not going to go with this high paid guy right now because we think we need to hit the reset button. Right. So they went through all those years of, okay, we got Joey Votto and then some other guys. I mean, they tried to throw like Moustakas and Castellanos in there at one point and just as like basically like a Band-Aid, like, hey, let's just be okay. But we'll still keep working on all the rest of the stuff, right? Instead of completely going the other direction. So it, you know, when you look at that and you say, well, you know, David Bell, how long did he get? So he got fired in his 6th season. Right? So, I mean, you could look at this very much like line this up and say, this next season for Derek Shelton, a lot similar to David Bell. If you're not getting it done and we're under 500 going into the last week, they need to make a move.
But I feel like the David Bell hiring is what we would have done this year. Brought in a guy to try to turn the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, he had one year.
Price would have been the guy to compare Shelton to. He was the one working through the whole time they were rebuilding.
Right. 98. 86 losses, 98, 94, 94, 95. And then they went to David Bell. But I think it takes I think it's fair for it to say it takes a couple years. I mean, he didn't start getting De La Cruz and stuff until last year. You know what I mean? When you started getting all those guys, when you start saying, "Oh, we finally got,"
but
Christian
he had quite a few pieces.
Yeah, maybe, but that's what I'm saying though. They were sending those guys off. And it was, like with Luis Castillo and, what I mean? But like what they have coming now seems to be the core of they should have been better this year. A lot of people had picked this team to win the division.
Yeah.
A lot of people also had the Brewers taking a step back. But the idea was that they thought David Bell was their guy to get him there. And it was this year, the 6th year, if you're not getting it done and it's inevitable. At that point, it was inevitable. He wasn't getting it done.
Yeah.
And they said, all right, we're done. And part of that reason is because they knew, well, we got to make a move now because that way we can make the fastest move in the offseason. There's going to be guys available and we're going to go after them.
Yeah.
And you kind of had a feeling that Francona was probably already on their list.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They were already thinking
reading
about
this stuff on the trade rumors. He was number 1 on their list.
Yeah. I don't know if they had conversations once they fired. Maybe the day after they fired David Bell, they were on the phone.
They had to get permission because he was still with the Guardians.
Really?
Like a special assistant.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. But anyway, I say that to say, you've got to prove it deal, or you've got to prove it year now from Derek Shelton. Yeah. And if it's similar to the Reds situation, it's the same timing and everything. And I'm kind of holding on to that saying, if you don't make it happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Ron says, he's talking about Nutting, I think here. He hires GMs who do what his philosophy is, and the GM hires the next yes man. Maybe. I don't really know, man. I really honestly believe that Bob Nutting is hiring somebody that he wants to handle baseball. I don't think Nutting wants to handle... Nutting doesn't know enough about baseball. He just wants the team to win. Whoa, hold on. Oh. He does want the team to win. I know that there are a lot of people will say he doesn't. That's fine. You can have that opinion, right? I believe he wants the team to win. He has no clue how to make that happen. He's not a baseball guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's just not. And whatever. There are some good owners who aren't baseball guys who just hire baseball guys to take care of it and then holds them accountable, right? And that's kind of, which is fine. But in this piece here, maybe the holds them accountable thing is the problem. Or whatever, or maybe, maybe there is Sherrington might only have one more year too. And maybe that's his type of, hey, get it done or I'm moving on. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. Obviously we'll never know that kind of stuff. I guess we could, but it could come out, but I don't know. But I think that Shelton and Sherrington, after what happened this year and all that stuff, I think it's there. And Gary makes the point in his piece too about, just about generally saying, yep, there it is again. I'm thinking through what he wrote too. Go steelcitypirates.com. Make sure you go read it. It's a really good read. But obviously if you're me and it's, 10:15 at night, you just forget things. So let's talk about second base, Jake.
Sure.
We've been going through all of our positions, and we're going to continue that today with second base, which is, for the last couple of years, probably been the biggest group of players that we've had. A bunch of guys who really could be shortstops, but aren't really good enough at shortstop, except for one of the guys I have listed here who played 20 games at second base this year. But he can't hit. So let's go ahead and go down through the line. I'm going to just go through our guys here as games played. Nick Gonzalez played 85 games at the major league level. I'll say if it's not at the major league level and not at second base, I'm only talking about games at second base here, okay? So he played more than 85, but 85 at second. Jared Triolo, 47 games. Alika Williams, 20 games. IKF, 16 games. That's just with the Pirates, by the way. I didn't look up the numbers of how many days he played with Toronto. Nick York, 7. I will say he did have 78 total at second base between minors and majors, both teams in the minors, all that stuff. 78 total games at second base. G1 Bay had 1 in the majors, 21 in AAA. And Leover Peguero had 48 games in AAA. He did not play second base when he came up here. He played all his games at short. But he did play 48 games in AAA at second base. Kind of your starter group right there. I don't really know that anybody else is involved.
Not yet.
Go ahead.
You got Tamar waiting in the wings too.
Okay. Is there a chance in your head? Is there a chance of 25 there? Like 2025?
No.
I don't think so.
That's why this is the starter. You know what I mean? But we talked about depth, some other positions, and I do think we hold on. I don't think we trade him. I think he plays second base for us.
Okay.
Probably in 26.
Really?
This dude's a stud, man.
So if Nicky G takes a step forward, you're moving him?
No, not necessarily. Maybe. I mean, that's how this process works. You move the guy in the majors and bring up your next guy.
Oh, you mean like trade him?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I meant like, are you moving his position? He'll have a couple more years. 26. I mean, he probably doesn't. Yeah. It depends on what you got. I see what you're saying though. Possibly even just move him.
Yeah. I mean, even if Nicky G's doing well, Tomar has a chance to be better. I think Tomar's ceiling is higher than Nicky G, even though I'm a huge fan of Nicky G. Don't get me wrong. I've been wanting him up for a long time.
Right.
But, just what you see in Tomar could be he could be special.
Yeah, and it's fair. We can all have our own thoughts. My opinion is I'll wait and see. I just want to see how it goes as he gets, more
that's
time.
Why I use the word. That's why I use the word could be.
Yeah. Well, and you could still like somebody that I don't say I don't like him yet, but for me, I'm just still kind of waiting. I don't see him factoring into next year that much.
No.
So, with this group, I think Triolo's interesting because he's just been up so much. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle him next year, whether they're even planning on, whether if they get a shortstop, does IKF kind of take Triolo's spot on the roster? You know what I mean? But also that's good depth if that is the case. Alika Williams on this list, I'm not sure lasts the offseason on the 40-man. And I think he's a guy that if you do DFA him at this point, I think that a team could pick him up if they're in a similar situation that the Pirates are in or have been in. And they might say, like, this guy could at least give us defense at short.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or second. You know what I mean? And so I could see a team picking up a guy like that and saying, if the bat works, we've got a shortstop. If you can get the bat going. You know what I mean? Nick York is, I think, probably, my opinion, is kind of your depth starter. I think that you start him in AAA, and if anything happens to Nicky G, it's not IKF that just jumps in and then you bring up Triolo for backup necessarily, but it could be that York just jumps right into the starting role and you keep everybody else in their role. I could see something like that happening. I could also see him playing his way into the only thing that he can't do that you can get from IKF and even really Triolo to some extent, but well, I'll say this all the way, and then I'll probably back it up a little bit. Is that it doesn't have shortstop. You know what I mean? He's played it, but like he doesn't have shortstop the way that they do. But then again, as I said that, I thought, well, you would just slide Nikki G if that was the case, and you could just for a game or whatever. So he could actually still make that team. One thing to remember about Peguero too is he's getting a fourth option. He's out of options, but it's been approved already, and you'd have to go to Ethan Houlihan if you want to understand that. I'll leave it to him to explain that. But there is a scenario where it goes into like a, you can request a fourth year option on a player, and it can be approved or denied. In his case, it's been approved. He has a fourth year option. So next year will be it for him, not this year. So that's a big move.
That is a big move. Yeah. I didn't know that. I never knew that was a thing. Are you gonna make it?
I had to sneeze real bad. Didn't want to do that in the camera.
No, absolutely. But yeah, it's I didn't know you were able to do that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so he does, and so I think they'll plan on using that. G1 Bay is another one that I'm not sure makes it through the offseason. Maybe if they work out a trade, the speed is enough to be like an add-in player on a trade rather than just cutting him.
Yeah.
If it could put you over the edge on a trade with a team that would like to get into that speed. And then once again, a lot of teams will trade for guys to say, if there's something they really like, so Alika would be the defense, Bay would be the speed. If another team's got some more time, let's say it's the White Sox, right?
Mm-hmm.
The White Sox would be willing to give a guy a couple years because they can, to say, like, if that offense ever does happen, though, then I've got myself a player I like. And I've got time to try it out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so there's guys like that. And we've had a lot of guys like that. A lot of former first round picks coming through Pittsburgh when we were bad, like Alford and all those guys. And it's just not there. So Ron's saying, go ahead.
Yeah. Ron's saying here, he says he bets IKF gets traded with York sliding into the utility role or Cook. You're probably only going to trade him if you are getting a starting shortstop in return. Because right now you have to look at it as
he's your
starter. Our starting shortstop right now.
Yeah.
So you can't trade him until either you go out and sign somebody or it's part of a trade to get that starting shortstop.
Yeah, as of right now, IKF is your shortstop.
But I could see him being a part of that, and I could see that. I don't know who with. I haven't looked around, have much time to do any digging this weekend, but that would be interesting. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see if that does work out in a trade to where we could get a legit starting shortstop.
Yeah, and with IKF, I mean the arm's what the arm is and whatever, but having him at short means. When you're looking for a shortstop, it means that the player that you acquire has to at least be that good. But even then, like, you got to understand that if he's only that good, you're paying $7.5 million for IKF. So this player, if he's going to be as good, you're not going to bring a guy in and pay him $10.5 to be as good as your $7.5 million player, unless it's like a 3-year deal for that guy. I don't see them making a move like that. So it's going to have to be like a trade for a young guy who then could be better, something like that. But actually right here, but like IKF for an Adames type shortstop is going to be more expensive than IKF. And so,
but if you look at that, I mean, that was a trade that they were able to pull off. And so you're looking at a younger guy who, man, your scouts have to pick, your scouts have to get it right.
I think adding Bay is like a third player in a deal or something like that. IKF and Bay isn't enough to get you a guy who's, matter of fact, you have to think about it this way. If a team has a guy like that, they're not going to move him if all you're getting back is 2 more infielders. Like, there's a reason they're looking to move him. If it's because they have a ton of infielders, then it doesn't help to trade infielders to him. So what you could be looking at is like, you could get an Adames type shortstop by trading pitching away, which is kind of like, I like our 10. Unless you've signed pitchers, I don't like moving from what we already have.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, the best option, unfortunately, depends on how your fandom rolls, but your best option in a trade from any of our pitching is probably to move Jared Jones. That's probably your most...
I would say Jones or Keller. I think those are the two.
The problem with Keller is he jumps up to $15 million next year. So you eliminate certain teams by saying he's going to make $15 million next year. So, I mean, the most return you're going to get for any of our starters, not named Skeens, because that's not happening, is Jared Jones. And that's kind of a, you know what I mean? Do you go there or not? That's the tough part. If you could go there, if there was a guy available and they're asking for Jones, maybe, you know what I mean? I think we had a conversation about this in the group chat that I'm in, where we were talking about it, and they were talking to Baltimore for like a Cowser, you know what I mean? Something like that. Like, you get an outfielder like that, you're talking impact right now. They need pitching, we need hitting, and they've got some hitters that can fill in. We've got some pitchers that can fill in. Like, that might be something that would be possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, come to think of it, we were talking about Shelton earlier, and whether or not he is a yes man entirely or whatever, but I'm pretty sure Shelton begged Sherrington for Jones to start this season. It's not Freudian, promise. But yeah, anyway. That's it. That's all. So, second base, Nick Gonzalez, right? We're all there. We're all at second base, Nick Gonzalez.
Yep. That's where I'm at.
Unless you somehow think that you saw enough from Nick Gonzalez you'd rather have him at short than IKF, then you might change something else.
Yeah, I would say I haven't, but
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't play enough there.
No, I'm all about Nick Gonzalez segment. The only reason you would do that is you were like, hey, Nick York's really we need to get him here. And we got IKF as short and is not making it happen. So maybe just put Nick Gonzalez at short and get Nick York here for second base.
Yeah.
What do you got?
What am I laughing at?
Yeah. Starting to see a pattern here.
It's not a typo.
Oh, I get it. I'm starting to see a pattern. I got you. Yeah. Yep. My bad. Where are we at here? We about done? We are about done. I think we've run its course.
We need to be.
Hey, kind of a bummer, man. Kind of a little bummer thing. Joe Musgrove having Tommy John surgery. So that means he's out. I always liked Musgrove. That's a bummer. At first, it was like, we're not putting him on the roster here. And then it's like, hey, he's going to miss next year. So, stinks for Musgrove.
Yeah.
More pitching. Oh, I just broke my pen.
Attaboy.
Dang it. Come on, Stroop.
Cap off the night.
Come on, Stroop. He told me about these Sharpie pens, and he said they're the best pens. And I'm just playing.
I love them.
The S Gel. This one here. This is the same thing, though? You're not showing me the S Gel.
Yes, they're all the same.
Okay.
Look at all these. Love them.
Well,
Best pens on the market.
I just snapped that off.
Well, I mean, quit doing that.
I know. Well, I'm nervous. I'm over here,
I got, that's why,
making these comments and
Go get the metal one, dude.
I should. I've got a metal Parker.
This is the stainless steel. It's awesome.
I've got my Parker Jotter here.
Yeah.
So,
Talking pens now.
But it's blue ink. This is a pen podcast, guys. Anybody see Vandy and Bama? Anchor down.
Yeah.
Wow. Carrying the goalpost through downtown Nashville.
Dude, I was there.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, like, I wasn't there in that crowd, but I was in Nashville because I was at.
Well, if you were going to go down Broadway Saturday, you changed your plans.
Yeah. Well, luckily we weren't, but insane. So we were at Mike's Burgers or Beer and Burgers or something like that. Which their burgers were on point. Loved them. They were really good. We were in there and we were watching it on the TV, and it was like, dang, they threw it in the river. They threw the goalpost in the river.
They threw it in the river after they walked it down Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah, they threw it in the river. Wild. So I thought they said on there that they had never beat them, and I said something about it. I was corrected. They beat them in the 80s. Sometime in the 80s, they beat Bama, and then not again until, well, there was like a forfeit in 93 or something like that, and then not again until later. But
it's a shake-up in the college football standing.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Number 4, Tennessee also lost. Michigan lost. Number 10, Michigan lost. I mean, it's going to be, I want everyone to lose. Like, I want it to be so difficult to put together who the best teams are. That they all just pass out and then wake up and say, we got to put somebody down. I just want it to be so hard. I don't know why. I don't have a motive. I know everybody complains about it every year. I want it to be complete
there's
chaos.
A lot getting in this year, so.
Oh, that's right. They already did change
12 teams.
All right, guys. Hey, next week, I'm going to run out of time on this, but next week we do first base. That'll be fun. Or Thursday. Thursday we do first base.
Yeah.
And maybe something else. Let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!